Thank you. Please have your seats. Thank you. I want to thank Abby for that. She was very generous today. At least she didn't include part of my sex life in that introduction. I want to say a big thank you to the Women Refugee Commission for this honor. I'm humbled. This is another day the Lord has made in my life. I will rejoice and be glad in it. 24 years ago, I too was a refugee. The first group of Liberian refugees that would get off the boat in Ghana on a Kano River boat. I would spend some time in a refugee camp. 24 years ago, when I was a refugee, sanitary pad was not a part of the humanitarian assistance. As a 17-year-old girl, we had to make do with whatever when that time of the month came. 24 years ago, as a refugee, we had to take our bath outside because bathrooms and toilets were not part of the humanitarian assistance or the structures that were being provided in refugee camps. 24 years ago, young girls who were refugees were preyed on by men who came in their cars looking for young girls to have sex with. 24 years ago, my sister was one of those who gave birth to a son in a refugee camp. Fast forward, 11 years ago, I worked with refugees. And 11 years ago, sanitary pads were not available for those women refugees. 11 years ago, they were also preyed on. I met one who was blind with a big gap in the middle of her foot, sore. And every time people came around to provide shelter, she would pass over because the men doing the distribution felt she wasn't sexually appealing, had nothing to offer them, so she could not get housing. 11 years ago, a group of us women were angry in that camp, and we went to the authorities in charge and said, you either change this or every media in this country will hear about your staff. Typical of a lot of the male-dominated organizations, take it, go and work with it. We formed a group of community women who were able and willing to do that work. 1 year, this year, I'm working on Southern Sudan, and we're getting daily briefings from those working on Southern Sudan. And my first question, I tell people I have a PhD in being a refugee. So my first question was, what of the women on the camps? And our contact in the camps say, when we spoke to some of the higher ups, they said, why are you asking us about sanitary pad when food is the priority right now? Today, women refugees like myself 24 years ago continue to face similar problems. The beauty of it is that we have organizations like the Women Refugee Commission who will not shut up. And I'm grateful to God that you now have your wisdom teeth in that you're an organization stand alone, ready to kick some butts if people are not doing the right thing. There is no way in this world that we can talk peace, conflict resolution, justice, equality, if we take away the sufferings of the refugee women and children from the equation. If we must give the peace to countries and the world that all of us in this room think the world deserves, we need to pay close attention to refugee women. Just as women's rights are human rights, refugee women's rights are also human rights. Let's work together to change this. 24 years is a long time for sanitary napkin to still be begged for by women is an inherent right. 24 years is a long time for reproductive health care to still be negotiated. 24 years is a long time for people to still think twice before they take some brand new underwears to women in refugee camps. 24 years, people. Imagine yourself, 24 years. That's how long it has taken some people in refugee camps. Let's make their lives a little better because they deserve it. They are not in camps because of anything they did. They are in camps because some selfish, most often men, wants power. 24 years, people, is a long time. They didn't ask me to do this, but if you can support the Women Refugee Commission in any way, do so, because their work is very critical to peace and justice in this world. Thank you all so much.